Well, I have to confess, I am a bit of a coffee drinker, although most of the time I drink instant coffee, although I actually prefer real coffee, and I usually have it as a bit of a treat in my cafetiere here. And it's lovely. So I was intrigued the other day when I was down in the market down in Worthing where I live in Montague Street, and the market does stretch quite a bit sometimes. And sometimes if it's really full, it can go down a side road where we've got some shops that are closed down and what have you, and the stalls spread around. And I sometimes peer through the shop windows there through the murky glass and look at the stuff inside. Anyway, I went down to the market and I was just sort of nosing about as you do. And I was interested because there was a stall right at the end down this side street where they were selling coffee. All sorts of different coffees, and sometimes though I feel a bit intimidated buying coffee because they had all the different places of origin, and there were beans or ground and all of this different roasts and things, and I wasn't quite sure which one to get. And the guy behind the counter was quite animated. He said, "Come on mate, have a go, you want to try some of our lovely coffee?" And I noticed that on the end there was what was coffee from the UK. And there seemed to be this rather interesting promotion about Weald Coffee. And I said, "Weald Coffee, not real coffee?" He said, "No, Weald Coffee from Sussex." I said, "Yeah, it's not actually grown in Sussex though, is it?" He said, "Oh, this is." I said, "What do you mean? It's actually grown in Sussex?" He said, "You've heard of the Eden Project?" And I thought, yeah, I have actually. That's in Cornwall, isn't it? Where they've got these great big domes and they grow tropical plants, that sort of thing. And he said, well, it's a bit like that, only a lot smaller, and they grow coffee plants there. They harvest them and then they roast them over a 24-hour period in a big drum, but very, very slowly. And it's a special technique to bring out the flavour. And it's actually grown in Sussex, in the Weald. And I thought, oh, well, I looked at the packets and they were actually quite pricey, as these specialist crafted things are. And I thought, oh, well, I'll give it a miss. And he said, no, here, that there's a trial packet. You can have a trial packet for £2. So I thought, all right, then £2, I'll give it a go. So I gave him the money and took this trial packet away. And of course, walking back from the market, I thought, oh, I am a dupe, aren't I? I'm an idiot. Because probably all he's done is printed up a whole load of packets, said Weald Coffee all over it, and in actual fact it's probably just supermarket coffee shoved in. Well, I bought beans rather than the ground because I always think that the beans are going to be fresher. So when I got home and I opened it up, looked at the beans, they seemed pretty kosher and they smelt like coffee. So I ground them up and put them in my cafetiere and away I went. And actually, it wasn't bad coffee as it happened. I mean, it wasn't, you know, super coffee or anything, nothing to write home about. It was quite pleasant as coffee goes. So there was about 6 cupfuls in this little trial packet. So I thought, okay. And over the next sort of 3 or 4 days, I'd completed those and had enjoyed them and what have you, thrown the packet away and thought no more about it, as you do. The only thing was, that week I had experienced some very vivid dreams. It was most peculiar. Dreams like I'd never had before. In some dreams I was like a James Bond character, shooting villains and firing guns and driving racing cars. And it was so vivid I really thought I was there. And other dreams I was like a Superman character and I was able to lift up lorries and trains and just throw them willy-nilly, which was quite bizarre. And as for the dreams which emphasised my sexual prowess, shall we say, well, let's just put it this way. I woke up with a big smile on my face, I can tell you. Yeah, so I had these weird dreams and they're so vivid. I wondered what the connection was, if there was a connection, because I hadn't changed my diet in any other way. Wasn't doing anything unusual. And I thought, I wonder if it's the coffee. Was it giving me some strange dreams? So I went online and I looked up to see Weald Coffee, and there was nothing like that. There was lots of Downland and Weald Coffee companies, but they imported the coffee and rebagged it and sold it as their stuff. But that wasn't it. This was supposedly grown in the Weald. And I thought, I'll go back to the market. That's what I'll do. And I'll have a word with the chap, see if I could get some more. Maybe I could have some more of these vivid dreams. I can tell you they were quite interesting. So anyway, on the Saturday, I went back to the market and I went up and down the stalls all the way along Montague Street and even round the corner into this side road where the shops are shut. And blow me, if I could find his stall, he wasn't there. And I thought, oh yeah, there you go. I have been duped. He's obviously done something stupid with these coffee, and he's gone off to another part of Sussex, probably peddling the same old story. And I was feeling a bit despondent about that because I kept thinking about these dreams. And I was standing there by these old shops with the windows that were sort of grubby and hadn't been opened for about 5 or 10 years, peering in, as I often did, you know. And I was looking in there, and I noticed there inside on the back wall was a shelf with a number of old products there, gathering dust, Marmite and cornflakes and tins of beans and various things that hadn't been removed. And then my eye caught this packet of coffee, Weald Coffee. And I was somewhat transfixed, as you can imagine. And I thought, hang on a minute, that packet, I recognise that now. It had been on that shelf all the time, and I'd peered in this shop many times and seen that shelf with the cornflakes and the baked beans and the packet of Weald Coffee. And I just thought, that is really weird. Had I considered, actually dreamt the whole thing about the stall and the coffee and the fact that I'd had vivid dreams? Well, I can tell you, I was most despondent after that.